Welcome back to the Annie Frey Show. Fox News.com and Zach Dean at Outkick reporting the worldwide leader laid off of ESPN Sports, of course, laid off dozens of employees this week, including Ryan Clark, Cam Newton, Tom Pelissero, and Carl Ravitch. I hope I said that right. Others were let go as well, but those are some of the big names circulating the internet as of today. This isn't the first round of layoffs at ESPN or for any company, frankly. This is at least the third or fourth round of layoffs at ESPN since Zach started working at Outkick 4 years ago. It's become a yearly story at this point. What is going on at ESPN, owned by Disney, of course? There have been some specific decisions made about high-profile personalities that have been let go. And the question is there some sort of thread that connects from one person to the next that's been let go that shows that ESPN or Disney is pointing in a different direction in the future? It could just be media layoffs. We've been there. Let's get to our Outkick friend. Bobby Burack is with us right now. He covers media, politics, and sports at Outkick. Go to outkick.com for more. Bobby, welcome back to the show. Thanks for being with us today.
Of course. Happy to be here.
So talk to me. Just give us the report. I know you've been covering this from the very jump here of what's going on at ESPN. What have you noticed?
So the headline that everybody has is what ESPN's saying, and that they acquired NFL Network, so they had to make cuts because there was redundancy. I think that's misleading. There's two things going on here. Yes, it's true that they acquired NFL Network, and they have more employees now than they actually need. Totally get it. However, if you look at the people they cut at the top, this has nothing to do with NFL Network. Chief among them, Ryan Clark. I'm not sure how familiar your audience is with Ryan Clark. This is one of the most polarizing people at the company, although I'm not sure polarizing is even the word, because that suggests some people support him. No one really supports this guy. Some of the things he has said over the past year include shaming a black person for marrying a white woman, belittling a colleague on air for not playing football, falsely accusing Louisiana police officers for an involvement in a suicide of a college football player. He's multiple times brought up race where it doesn't belong. He refused to go on air with a colleague once he found out she was conservative and didn't support vaccine mandates. So here's what happened here. They should have fired this guy a while ago, but because he always uses the race card and because he is somebody who probably is going to make a big scene, they had to do it delicately. So they jammed him into this layoff to make it look like it was a business decision. But this was clearly an editorial decision.
Bobby, so when you're telling me all of these things that Ryan Clark is talking about, I'm not familiar with him personally, but what does any of that have to do with covering sports? Like, what is even the point of ESPN if all of those things are being injected into the coverage? Because I'm going to tell you what, and you know this because you come on our show. I'm sure you do a lot of other radio shows. We're talking about issues. We're here to talk about news, politics, culture, religion, family, something that we find funny, like explosive diarrhea has been a big topic of conversation here on our show lately. When I tune into ESPN, I kind of want to know who won last night, why somebody lost last night. What about the injury? What about the NFL coming up? Why is Ryan Clark on ESPN bringing all these issues into what should be people's exhale for the day?
It's a great point. And it speaks to ESPN's culture where they for so long allowed this to happen, and they have employees who think they're untouchable. And he's not the only one doing it or was doing it, because they're slowly booting these people out of here. There's a woman by the name of Elle Duncan. I mean, get this, Annie. She went on air during the college basketball tournament and said, we need to have a moment of silence because Florida passed a bill called Don't Say Gay, and I want to hold this moment of silence.
It wasn't even
for
true.
My LGBT. Yeah, it wasn't even true.
It's not even facts. Oh,
but it gets even better. 2 months later, she goes on SportsCenter and says, abortion is a constitutional right.
False.
They are taking it away from women, and we must protest. That's not true either. Abortion is not a constitutional right. So it's not even that these morons are breaking policy, it's that they don't even know what they're talking about.
Bobby Burack speaking with us right now, media, politics, and sports reporter at Outkick.com. A great resource if you're somebody who, like, I wish I could look at ESPN, but they make me sick with that type of drivel all of the time. You got to be going to Outkick.com for coverage of sports and all things cultural that is really of interest to people. Bobby, I started my radio career. I did 3 years in sports talk radio here in St. Louis. We've got a rich sports culture in this city, and people are invested. People do care. And it's not to say that the people who care about, the St. Louis Cardinals, then the St. Louis Rams, the Blues, St. Louis City, some of the great college basketball that we have around here. Mizzou is certainly, and Illinois football is certainly a big story here in St. Louis. The people who care about that stuff, they do also care about important issues. But if you can't escape the constant inundation of which side are you on this issue all of the time, if you can't go to ESPN to get that, where can you go? And that's the further question I have for you. Is ESPN, do you even have a hunch that Disney and ESPN are saying, maybe we're going to start just doing sports now? Maybe we're going to pull out some of this polarizing, to use your word, tone that we've had here on this network for a while, and maybe we're going to get back to sports. Could we possibly have hope that that's what's going to happen?
Well, I think that the people in charge have wanted that to be the case for 3 years now. Things went off the rails in 2020 because of George Floyd, and apparently that was cause for ESPN to change their entire direction. I think for the past 3 years, they've wanted to move back to sports, but here's the problem. The mostly white male executives are afraid to tell these people to knock it off, because then they'll be called a racist and they'll probably get fired. So that's the problem, is that the bosses don't want this stuff, but they don't have the backbone to sit Ryan Clark down and say, hey, stop shaming people for marrying white women.
Yeah, knock it off. Why? Because, newsflash, that's a racist statement.
Exactly.
The racism is in the room with us right now.
But then Ryan Clark goes on his little podcast and he'll say, as a black man, this white male tried to silence me. Well, they're afraid of that stuff. So, no, they understand this is bad business. The problem is that the previous regime hired so many of these people who have really no interest in talking sports. They just want to talk about race and politics and a bunch of other things, abortion. So I'm confident ESPN believes they are in the right direction. I just think executing is going to be hard, because there's other people who are probably going to step up. Like, there's this guy by the name of David Dennis Jr., one of the most egregious people I've ever seen on TV. When Hulk Hogan died, he went on air and said, Hulk Hogan should only be remembered as a racist. Don't even talk about anything else. Yet when Kobe Bryant died, he goes, we should only remember Kobe Bryant as a great father. Kobe Bryant was accused of rape, and you leave that off, but you think Hulk Hogan is the devil? I mean, there's so many of these buffoons on air that it's going to take a while, I think, to get them all off.
Yeah, it just frustrates the heck out of me as somebody who understands, listener-centered broadcasting. My job here is to remember the listener and to serve the listener's purpose, the viewer's purpose, the reader's purpose, because that's the consumer of what we do. If we run out of consumers, then we don't do it anymore. They find somebody else to do it. All of that stuff is so self-centered, so self-fulfilling. And I've said this since 2020, when everything went peak woke, that like the Disney wokeification of everything, every arena that they have. And I'm somebody who, I love taking my kids to Disney World, but I will criticize them at every corner for turning the company and all of the areas that they are involved into this woke thing. But I'm telling everybody, I don't think that they did it because that's where they found their moral center. I think they thought they could make money doing that. That it was in the most on the face and deep down in the roots, under the surface, the capitalist decision of Disney was the money is where the woke is right now. And I think with where we're seeing that kind of bobbing and weaving through the Ryan Clarks of the world, that maybe the money looks like it's somewhere else, which I would consider culturally, as somebody who's raising 4 kids in this country, a really hopeful thing for the future. If maybe those huge, ginormous companies are saying maybe the money isn't made by this woke bull crap that continues to get shoveled down people's throats.
Of course. And these people don't take any responsibility. So I don't know if you saw Ryan Clark, after he got booted off air yesterday, he went on Instagram and shared a clip from the Breakfast Club accusing me of getting him fired. Some person on the Breakfast Club, Charlamagne the God's co-host, she claimed with identity sources, it was not true, that I conspired with ESPN management to get him fired, and he shared it on Instagram. So he thinks I'm at fault here. I had nothing to do with it.
That's a big flex for you, I think.
Well, I mean, look, I don't mind it. It's just I wish that they would tell the story a bit more accurately.
Right.
Now, if they think that I have the power to get people fired, I guess that's an okay reputation to have. So I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. But I don't know. It's a bit confusing, I think.
That's a lot of influence for one person to have, Bobby, at Outkick.com, nonetheless. Go ahead.
And by the way, if I had that influence, why is David Dennis still on air? Because if anybody's listening and you guys want to know who should be fired next, David Dennis. I think he should be gone for the Hulk Hogan comments.
Bobby would like to say, and another thing. Before we let you go, I did want to talk to you about Sophie Cunningham, because she has come out here, resurfaced a 2022 tweet where she was talking about the unfairness of the Leah Thomas participation, a male who participated in a swimming race with Riley Gaines, which kind of brought this whole story into the mainstream where we're still talking about it 4 years later, which is incredible that the issue has gotten the steam that it has gotten. But she resurfaced it, and she said she's about loving people. She doesn't hate people. She doesn't hate transgender people, but she thinks that while you love, you also have to have truth, that they have to coexist. That is such a wise statement from Sophie Cunningham, of all places where we could be having this discussion, a female playing in the WNBA, saying you cannot separate love and truth. To me, that's the foundational direction from which to start the entire conversation.
It's so true. And Sophia Cunningham has become my favorite athlete in all of sports.
Yeah.
I think I like her better than any football player, and just to make that clear. But I feel bad for Sophie, because I go online and I see like CNN and MS Now tell me the two worst people in the world right now, besides President Trump, are Sydney Sweeney and Sophie Cunningham. Look, I know people don't want me to say it because it makes them uncomfortable. I think there's a real war on pretty white women right now, because there's just no other reason to hate those two than that. And if that makes people uncomfortable, I'm sorry, it's true.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying right now. There just is a consistency with which the playground bullies decide to circle around. And I mean, credit where credit is due. Both Sweeney and Cunningham, they welcome it. It seems like they're like, I can handle this. Go on. Like, you're going to make a fool out of yourself. I don't even have to say anything. Bobby Burack, thank you for being with us today. We are grateful for the coverage that you are providing people at Outkick.com. We'd like to have you back again soon. Thanks for being with us.
Of course, anytime.
Take care. Bye-bye.